Our first guest today is Father Fish, worldwide brand name in fish keeping, aquatics, aka Lou Foxwell, but he's Father Fish to us, the people that know and love him. 250,000 subscribers on YouTube. This guy's a name in the industry. We get to talk to Father Fish today and hear about how he started out to becoming the phenomenon that he is now. Welcome, Father Fish.
Well, hello, Adam. Nice to see you. Great to chat with you.
Father
It's
Fish.
been a
Father
lot
Fish.
of fun to be around for the last couple of months.
Father Fish, why fish? What attracted you to nature way back as a young man?
God knows. That started so early on, I have no memories of it. I think the first time I saw a fish in an aquarium in a little, wasn't even a store. Actually, it was in my grandmother's house, and I was about 2 years old. But what I remember, she had a little tank sitting under a window on a grill, sitting over one of those things called the heater coils that they put under windows 100 years ago. Anyhow, I remember as a kid visiting somebody in their home, and they had a whole bunch of aquariums, and I saw a fish. I don't remember what it was, a platy or a tetra, something, maybe in neon, and I was utterly captivated. Just couldn't get enough of it. But I've always been that way about nature. Anything I would, as a kid, I would lay on the ground and watch ants in their nest for hours, or flip over and watch the clouds for hours. I've always been kind of a wastrel, that just spending my time being a complete derelict, doing nothing. And it's my way of doing nothing, I guess, and getting away with it.
It sounds like nature pulled you in.
I think so. I think so. And that's really become my theme, um, because there's so much about our culture that is anti-nature. That the most powerful of which are those voices that want to protect nature, because they're really anti-nature. They're really trying to force people to separate themselves from the natural world, as though human beings were what's wrong with the nature system. And it's so backward, it's so perverted, it's so obtuse, because human beings are absolutely central to the nature system. We don't have a nature system without us. We're here to care for it, to model it, to mold it, to build it into what it needs to become to satisfy ourselves and satisfy the earth.
What was
So
your
that's
first job?
the child, but the early influences,
What was
early
the
and
first job? What was the first job you got in the business? Because you're in this professionally at a high level, but you didn't start out that way. What was the first gig?
first I was running a pet shop for two guys. What was it? Two guys from Jersey. It was one of the earliest iterations of Walmart. Was called Two Guys, and they had a pet shop. And I was 16 years old and worked in that pet shop. Before that, I was collecting stuff from the Chesapeake Bay and selling it to a local fish store that was run by Merle Cohen. Merle Cohen became one of the big luminaries in the industry. He owned Aquarium Products, which sold out eventually to Allpet, I think. Um, he and I worked years. We met when I was a kid. He was in his 20s, just getting started. We met again 30 years later, putting together the National Aquarium in Baltimore. We both were on the founding board of directors and got to be good friends all over again. So that's the other thing. I've had so many personal relationships, friendships, people who really were family, who I've met through the hobby and through the industry, who have been really important people in my life. They've kind of been best friends, not because of the hobby, but it was just a way to meet them.
Well, who was the first one? Like, who was the one that gave you a shot?
Well, probably Merle Cohen. Um, and then I worked as a missionary for, golly, 40 years. And kept fish throughout that time, but wasn't doing anything really in the industry. I was hanging out in fish stores and talking to people, but I wasn't really doing anything in the industry until I retired and wound up in Florida. And then Kenny barred the door. I just got involved in everything. I started at Moat Marine doing grants writing, and then branched out to working on farms, working with wholesalers, farmers, retailers. I was repping a bunch of wholesalers at one point, selling to pet shops, and would travel all through the Southeast. And then set up a little operation in my home where I was selling online. And then finally wound up opening a pet shop and did that for about 15 years, almost 20 years, from about 2000 to 2020. And shut that down and moved back to Maryland. I turned 84 and decided that I needed to be back with family. So I came here to retire and fell into a business that has just exploded and made me busier than I've ever been. So I'm now YouTube famous. I'm writing a book. I've got a bunch of people as a team putting the book together. I've got a business that's doing $500,000 plus a year in its first year. Got 8 people on staff here and there and everywhere. I had people on staff all over the globe. I've got a person in the UK, one in Holland, another one in India. It's just kind of remarkable. And I'm 84 and trying to figure out how I can keep this going and keep myself going. Because I want to be here doing it for at least till I'm 90.
You know, this is not the retirement you planned. It wasn't the beginning you planned either. It sounds like you just,
planned
yeah.
retirement. I never did. Never thought about retiring. I've always been just too interested in being busy and active. And that's really, I mean, I would be bored out of my mind if I didn't have something to do. I would make something to do. So I've always been real busy and always been kind of productive. I've never been financially successful because my ventures are all based on the joy and the excitement of doing it, not maintaining it. So I'm kind of entrepreneurial, but I'm not a good business person. Now I'm having to learn how to do that because I've got so many different avenues working at the same time, and they're all being productive for the first time. So that's kind of remarkable.
You've got some young fans. I've seen some fans as young as 12, 11 years old. They know you by name. They join you on your live streams. What would you say to them if they wanted to follow your footsteps in this field? What would you say to them?
They ask me that. Yeah, how do we get started? And there's no way to get started. You just do what you do. You follow your nose. You follow your dream. You follow what's in front of you. The opportunities abound, and it's a matter of what you grasp onto and run with. I don't think it's possible, really, to create an opportunity. I've tried that, and it really doesn't work. You just beat your head against the wall. When the door opens, the door opens, and you either go through it or you don't. I mean, you can crawl in a window probably, but you can't go through a brick wall. It just isn't going to happen.
I mean, you're a voice of, you're a controversial, revolutionary voice in an industry dominated by global titans. I mean, do you ever feel like you're the David and Goliath here? I mean, you're talking about a whole different way of fish keeping, a natural way, healthy way. How do you feel
Yeah,
about that when you wake up?
well, I've been around long enough that I've seen them come up. I've seen where they come from. I know how they got started, and most of them got off on the wrong track, and we all did. To be truthful, we all got off on the wrong track. You know, they had it nailed in the 1800s. They figured out how to keep fish as soon as they figured out how to make flat glass. Once they made flat glass, they could make aquariums. And once they made aquariums, because they did not have electricity, they figured out how to keep stuff alive naturally because that was the only choice. So they would bring a little dirt in, little sand, some plants, bring stuff in from the sea, and learn how to keep it alive. When electricity hit after the Second World War, that's where it all got started. It became very techy, and we just sort of ran with the tech, figuring that was going to solve all problems. Actually, it has created a world of problems. It's harder for people to keep fish alive today than it was 100 years ago because they're using tech as an alternative to nature, and it doesn't work.
Do you ever wonder if your timing is perfect? I mean, look at the where people talk about they don't want to eat GMO foods. They want to eat organic. They want natural everything. Do you ever think that maybe you just kind of hit lightning in a bottle here? I mean,
Yeah,
you're the
probably.
organic fish keeping
Yeah,
guy, you know?
yeah. Which is why I need to live another 20 years.
It's really, I feel like you're just starting.
Oh, yeah, I agree. Absolutely. You know, and there's so many areas where it's true. Farming is a good example. The work that's being done in so-called organic farming, which is really natural farming, is just beginning to really impact the farming industry. And it will be profound because it will get rid of the need for fertilizer. Fertilizer is the sticking point in the food chain today. It's what's preventing us from having a really open flowing food chain.
You know what's funny? I remember, I mean, I grew up in the Northeast like you did, and I remember biting into a tomato and the flavor,
Uh,
right? And it's not like that anymore. And I think people are
I
craving that. I
guess
think
it's
people know
true.
what good is and they're looking for it.
Yeah, my grandfather had a farm and he raised everything. And I remember all those foods, and nothing tastes like that anymore. I remember picking peaches off of trees. You can't, no, there is no peach in any store that tastes like a tree ripened peach. I mean, but everything, tomatoes, certainly. Now, I'm on the eastern shore of Maryland, and there is a tradition here of sweet corn, tomatoes, and chickens, and seafood. And those are the mainstays of the culinary scene here on the shore, and they do it right. I mean, they, they do apple trees, peach trees, the apple pies, the peach pies, the cobblers, the all of the soups and stews, muskrat stew, muskrat stew, muskrat stew. My God, if you've never fallen in love before, you don't know what muskrat stew is.
I guess we should all try that once, maybe. So, any
No,
final
I would not
thoughts?
recommend it. It's an acquired taste.
Any final thoughts? I mean, the real thing I think you shared with us today is, don't plan out too far. You can't create opportunities. Follow your nose. This is sage advice. Any
Yeah,
final thought? Yeah.
The other thing is overcome your fear, because fear is the killer. Fear is what prevents us from doing anything. We have to become fearless, utterly fearless. I mean, do your damnedest, world. I'm out here, and you ain't gonna stop me. You gotta stop being afraid of dying, stop being afraid of being hurt, stop being afraid of condemnation, stop being afraid of all the things we're afraid of, because that's the killer. Fear is death. Overcoming fear is absolutely critical. Which is overcoming the judgment of others. That's really what it is. When you no longer care about what other people think what you're doing, because you know it's right and you know it's what you ought to be doing, then you're in the right place. If you're trying to mold yourself to fit the critique of others, whether they be masters or fools, is irrelevant. They are others, they are not you. And if you are controlled by others, and that's so much a part of what's wrong in our culture today. So many people are enslaved to the will of those who consider themselves powerful and important. And to hell with them. They mean nothing. They're no better than anybody else, and generally worse, generally stupider, more ignorant, and more filled up with their own ego and their own self-importance.
Good words. Hey, final thought. You mentioned a book. Can you just tell us a little bit about this upcoming book for anybody interested?
Yeah, we've been working on setting up and teaching people how to maintain natural aquariums. And I had a couple of research scientists get involved with me and say, we need to authenticate this. We need to do the science. We need to do the research. We need to be able to document the scientifically exactly what this is and why it works. And that's what it is, but it's written in layman's terms. So it's a guidebook with a lot of resources, a lot of really helpful information, lots of pictures. It's loaded with pictures. It'll be out in about a month as an ebook. And then by the first of the year, we hope to start printing hard copies.
Oh, that's terrific. Hey, for anybody listening to this, I'm going to include the link when it's published where you can buy the book right here, because I know I'm going to buy one. And anybody that's out there enjoying organic vegetables and you want to get back into fish keeping, I think you just found a way to do it. It's a lot of fun. I'm a fan. I'm one of the 250,000 people that watch this guy every week and learn and learn and learn. Father Fish, thank you so much for sharing your story.
Be with you. Enjoyed it.
All right. God bless. Be well.
Thank you. God bless. Love you all. Bye for now.
Oh, fantastic. That was so fun. I'm going to turn that recording off. There we go.